Sick. Right. We're in Mesh Studios in Leeds. We just spent the last 3 hours, pretty much
4 at this point.
Brilliant. About 4 hours of playing 200 BPM music. How was that for you, man?
It was a lot of fun. It was very high energy. I'm very tired now, but it was sick.
Really cool. This is all down to you. This is down to you making some 200 BPM tunes.
Yeah, man.
Why did you make 200 BPM music in the first place?
I mean, it was a bit of an experiment, really. I was making some drum and bass, as I quite often do, and I just thought, what would happen if I just moved the tempo up to 200? I thought, this is crazy. This is never going to work. I'm just going to have fun with this. And I thought certain breaks sounded amazing at that tempo, really bouncy, and it just kind of went from there, to be honest. Yeah. Quite ravey, so I like when putting synths behind it, I realized that you kind of have to slow that down a bit. So like halftime vibes, but I just really liked the energy that I was hearing there. So yeah.
Totally. When you sent them to me, I remember because you send me stuff for the demo drop, and I try not to listen to stuff until I'm listening to it live on the stream. But with you, because you've sent me so much stuff and I've really liked this, I'm going to have to listen to this. And when you said 200 BPM, it's like, right, nobody sent me 200 BPM stuff before. And it did add a real spring to it. It's like, the minute you say 200 BPM to somebody, they kind of screw their face and we're like, oh, it's a bit scary for me. But it's got a bounce, it's got a groove to it. It's all in the types of breaks, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It's that kind of jungle theory of it's at that fast tempo, but it's halftime. The groove is half the tempo. So really, if you're dancing to it, you're dancing at sort of 100 BPM, which is a lot less scary. You know what I mean? A lot more accessible as well.
Well, that's what really appealed to me then when we started talking about it, started talking about a release, and it's like, let's put this music into context, let's tell a story with it. And I play a lot of 100 BPM stuff in like commercial sets, disco sets, funk sets and stuff like that. So my idea, and then even I played at a private party in a really swanky place, like in a rural area in Wales. They called it a festival, but it was just really loads of posh people who paid for me to come and play them tunes. And I played like Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight, but with like one of your tunes looped over like a 200 BPM break. And it was really springy, and so you had like the grown-ups were all loving it, they didn't mind, the kids were bouncing around to the breaks, and it was just one of those little moments. It was like, maybe we could do this. But then we started talking about doing a mix, and you suggested playing with like dubstep tunes, and this is where it's got really, really interesting. Like half those tunes, I'd about 80% of those tunes weren't supposed to be played at those tempos, were they?
Oh, 100%. The slider was up sort of, 40-50% sometimes. It was actually really fun experimenting with it, and it's kind of, it changes your mindset to thinking, well, any tune can be any genre if you just change the tempo enough. So you start listening to these tunes not as they were intended, but you start making whole new sounds out of tunes that are already out there to play with. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like, how would you feel if you were just watching a mix and then suddenly you heard a Woosh tune played at a completely different tempo?
That's a great question. I'm not very precious about what I make. That's why I don't really release anything. I put a lot of stuff out for free. But I'd love that, because the whole point for me is enabling creativity in a way. That's kind of why I'm here doing this mix today. So if someone played my tune, slowed down to like 40%, I'd be like, oh, I wish I'd done that. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, especially if it sounded good.
Totally. And this was the thing. This is where, like, when I started practicing for this mix and it all kind of came together, so it's like, right, does this tune need to be sped up to 200 or put down to 100? And there's a real sense of liberation and freedom when you're slowing down garage records to 100 and stuff like that. Likewise, some of the really old jungle stuff sounds great at 200 because it's quite light, the production isn't too heavy, there's not too much going on. So it's having the space. I think space is key, isn't it?
Definitely, space is key. I mean, that's a pretty standard production technique, is trying to work with the negative space in your mixes. Try and not, if you think, oh, a hit could go there, well, what if you didn't? What if you just left the silence? And you get a lot of good things out of that. But yeah, that thing about slowing tracks down all the way to 100, you start hearing things you've never heard before, and you start thinking, well, why hasn't anyone done this? It sounds good, so let's try it,
Totally. Have you found any new artists as a result of this? Like more kind of, because we've both been sourcing kind of 200 BPM bits, so some nice gabber at the end of it, some nice breakcore and stuff. Are there any artists that you've discovered along this way because of these experiments that we've been doing today?
A couple. One I will name is Ruby My Dear. I hadn't heard of this producer before, but the music is absolutely out there. You might call it experimental. It's just really weird, really interesting, but still very musical. And that I would never have come across that artist unless I'd spoken to my friends and my colleagues about, oh, I'm doing this 200 BPM stuff. And then they'll show me, oh, well, this would work. This would be really cool. So it's looking into things like breakcore and sort of underground genres. Yeah, I've discovered a load of new music, but that was the one artist that stuck in my head.
Yeah, totally. I'd already heard of Ruby My Dear, and he'd actually opened up a whole breakcore door for me a couple of years ago when he did an RA mix, and I was really into that. There was like we were talking about this earlier, like it actually kind of encourages digging, because there isn't a breakcore section on Juno or Beatport. There isn't a 200 BPM section on these download stores either. So finding stuff was a bit difficult. And also because it's quite genreless, like especially when you look at the stuff at that tempo, it was quite tricky really. So you had to be quite creative and looking through stuff. I remembered old tunes that I forgot I had and things like that. It's the exact sole thing that I really want from DJ, and I really encourage anybody to do. It's like exploring the music, developing a new relationship with it, listening to it differently and stuff, isn't it?
For sure. I mean, a few years ago, I was really, really into drum and bass. I kind of only just discovered it. And I realized I was in this cycle of just going through tracks, skipping to 34 seconds, listening to the drop, yes or no, I'll have it, and then moving on to the next tune. I wasn't even listening to the music. I was literally listening to the drop to work out whether I wanted to play it live, and that's it. And it's been really nice to come out of that and really listen to people's creations at the end of the day. You know, you really start seeing it as people's art, which is what it is. It's not just a tool to make people dance or to make you look good as a DJ. It's all about the music and the creativity.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, this is significant because this is your first release. Yeah. And it just so happens, I mean, I don't think you could have ever forecast that your first release would be an 8-track, 200 BPM release coming out a couple of days before Christmas, right?
Absolutely not. Not in my wildest dreams would I have come up with that. Absolutely not, but it's great.
Brilliant. But it's my responsibility, I think, as a label owner, and as a brand owner, it's much more than a label. Like One More Thing supports all the music, is to make sure that this is frame right, that it's not a gimmick, that it's come from the right place, and that you're able then for your next release, you don't feel obliged to stay at 200 BPM. You don't feel trapped. Like this is a project within itself, but a great way to launch yourself and experience releasing music, I guess, really, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, it's only in the past few months that I've even experimented at this tempo, but I've been producing for something like, it's probably like 15 years since I first started dabbling in it. And this is, yeah, I mean dabbling, you know, the first forays into it.
How old were you?
About 14, 15 at that point.
Well, okay, I had you as 25, but you're clearly a couple of years older than that then.
Yeah, almost 30, don't tell anyone. Yeah, but no, I absolutely love producing all genres, which I think has really informed this love of moving the tempo slider around, because I don't really have a favourite genre. I mean, I like dance music over other kinds of music, but love garage, drum and bass, house music, drum, you know, all of it, all the way up to breakcore as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, I think that almost makes it harder when you've got such a love, and it's what made it harder for me as a DJ years ago, and why I gave up, because it's like I'm not focused enough. I haven't got a single sound. I just want to play everything all at once, and the journalism was taking over, so I kind of gave up DJing for a long time. But I guess when you're into things and you're making so many things, and it makes a lot of sense, because like, I still remember the first email I got from you, and you had them all ordered, like, you know, it's kind of 140 to 160, no, 140, 160, and then D&B tunes. It's like, oh my God, like this is an all-you-can-eat buffet sort of thing. But that does make it very difficult then when you're finding your sound and working out who you are, your identity as an artist and things like that. It makes it a lot more difficult when you've got such a wide range of interests and passions for it, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for artists that are already established, if people know their name, if they've got multiple aliases, if people know them as people are coming to you for music that they know is going to be good, you can get away with already having a platform and an audience and putting out something that people don't know you for. But if no one knows your name, then they don't know what to expect. So if they hear you release something that they like at a certain genre or tempo, and then the next release is completely different, they might get either confused or they might be like, oh, what's going on here? But it'd be nice to break that. it'd be nice for people to hear a good release and think, oh, well, I'm going to go into their next release with an open mind. It could be anything. Yeah.
And I've always said that as well, because I argue with artists sometimes, like, I don't want to alienate my fans, but there is an argument to say just credit your fans with a bit more intelligence in that type of way. But I think when you're on your first release, that's even more daunting, because the main thing is to try and kind of, develop some type of listener base. But I think you're naturally, if you're going and trying different genres, you're going to attract a certain type of listener, a listener like me who likes everything, or a listener like yourself who likes everything. Let's talk about you as a DJ. There were quite a few. We were generally doing 3 tunes each, but there were quite a few times when I just let you play for a bit because I was loving watching you play. You know your way around the mixer a lot. I mean, you work with DJ equipment and stuff like that, but you DJ. It's really clear that you DJ regularly.
Yeah, I do. I get a lot of sets, which is really nice. But as you said, I do work with DJ equipment a lot, and I just spend a lot of time practicing because I just enjoy mixing. And that's just over the years has kind of given me a calmness and a confidence behind the decks. And whenever I get a compliment, I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not that good. But then I listen to mixes I did when I was like 20, and I suddenly realized, I've actually improved quite a lot. But it's literally just practice. It's just practice is that. And a lot of people say you've got to know your tunes inside and out. And that's true, but a lot of genres follow formulas in the tracks, so you really can get a sense of, you just know what you're doing behind the mixer, as you say.
Yeah, totally. And I think if you know how to use the effects and the loops, you actually don't need to know the tunes quite so well, because you can get yourself out of any situation. And that thing you were doing with the spiral, I haven't got a spiral on my mixer, but there's a couple of techniques which I'm trying to imprint on my memory for the next time I use one of those, where I have access to that particular effect. I do a lot of B2Bs, and I was doing a whole series of them and stuff. And I think you're one of the best DJs that I've actually just stood and watched. Just super, super tight, and really, really good fun. Doesn't matter what tempo we would have been mixing. That was enjoyable to be going back to back with.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's very, very vindicating, because of the amount of hours I've spent late at night on my own, like imagining people listening to it. Yeah, but a lot of my transitions just come from producing. I try, because I love producing probably more than DJing, really. Every time I do a mix, I'm thinking, well, what would happen if I was producing this track? What would work if I was going into a breakdown or into a drop? And I'll try and replicate that on the DJ mixer, and it normally works out really well. Cool.
I really like that, because a lot of producers hate DJing. They've barely got decks in their house. They don't practice. It blew my mind when I first got into music journalism that some DJs didn't even have decks in their house. We're like, well, I mix 3-4 times a weekend, so why would I need to? It's like, well, to practice for that type of reason. But they're just like, they're sick of it. They want to be in the studio. So it's really refreshing to hear a producer kind of talk about DJing in that way and how they feed into each other. How are you incorporating this 200 BPM sound into sets that you normally do as Woosh around Leeds, around Bradford, and in the general area?
Yeah, that's difficult.
I've cleared a dance floor with it before.
Yeah, it's easy to do. You've really got to be careful with your audience, and as a DJ, you have to respect the audience. If they've come to just have a party in a bar, you can't throw gabba at them, because they will leave the bar, and then the bar staff are annoyed at you because they've got no one to serve anymore, and they're not going to make any money. So the only exception to that is the free party scene, illegal rave scene. You can do anything you want there, because the people that are there have come to hear types of music they are not going to hear in a city centre. And there's a lot of faster stuff, a lot of harder stuff, so you can get away with more there. But even then, if you play something that isn't good, no one's going to like it. And if it isn't appropriate and it doesn't flow, it's going to break the energy, and no one's dancing, and it's crap. So playing my own tunes that are faster, you just got to choose your moment. You've got to choose your moment. I mean, I'm quite lucky, because I've also got a lot of tunes at normal BPMs. So I'll just play them.
Yeah. I mean, I did the opposite in that mixes thing, because I really wanted to kind of take it south and go a little bit deep. And I think I chose the wrong opportunities to do that, or play tunes that required playing quite a long length of them in order to get the full feeling of them, and sometimes I felt that kind of lost the vibe. But you brought up a point like those were the parts that you kind of enjoyed because they were little breathers amongst the kind of really fast tempo bits, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I've been practicing for this mix, I'd go to work, come home from work in the evening, have a bit of food, and then jump on the decks and practice this 200 BPM mix. And I'd do an hour or two, and then I'd come off the decks and be like, oh yeah, that was great, but I'm not sleeping for 4 or 5 hours now because I'm so like high, tense and high energy. So it was really nice to hear someone bring some contrast to those mixes.
Cool. I'll go with that. I mean, I think I go a little bit too weird with my mixing anyway, I think. But it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm really excited about releasing this record and hopefully releasing more music from you in the future as well, and revealing more and more different sounds, different tempos and different boundary tests of Woosh, really. Thank you so much for sending me the music and being up for doing this mix, and yeah, just being a cool creative person, man.
Yeah, thank you. Honestly, you do a lot for the scene, and I think people should appreciate you more. So thank you.
Cool. I love what I do. Brilliant. This has been Woosh. We're in Mesh Studios, and we've been at 200 BPM. Nice.
Peace.
Go on. Big up. Wicked. Cool.
Yeah, man.
There we go.
One more thing.
Yeah, thanks. That's nice and wholesome, man. Yeah.